Hey there, welcome to Extra Healthy-ish, the big sister podcast to Healthy-ish. This podcast from Body and Soul, well, we've designed it to give that little bit extra in your day for your mind, body and soul. I am your host, Felicity Harley. Sure, self-love is such a buzzword right now, but do you really accept yourself for who you really are? Well, Meredith Gaston is asking us that question. She's got a new book out. It is called Choosing Love. She is an artist. She does beautiful illustrations. She's also a best-selling author and wellness coach. And today, yes, she is going to give us all a lesson in self-love and its importance for our well-being and our relationships. Meredith, thank you so much for joining me on Extra Healthy-ish today. Now, how do you stay extra healthy-ish in your life?
Oh, this is a great question. And I have 3 top tips in this regard. The first being conscious thoughts, so really choosing my thoughts carefully. Because our thoughts create our worlds, we have to be so careful with them. And we are so powerful with our thoughts. We're much more powerful than we often realize. And when we choose our thoughts carefully and lovingly and kindly and consciously with intention and the very best intention for ourselves, we transform our lives. And I often say it's beyond recognition. The seeds of our thoughts, they blossom in our daily lives. And so really starting with the thought process is certainly where I begin. And secondly, I opt always for kind self-talk and kind talk, because from our thoughts then comes speech, and that's internal speech and also the way in which we speak to the people with whom we share our lives. So foundational and absolutely fundamental to happiness is kind, compassionate, respectful self-talk. And like all good things, practice just makes it better each day. It's not a click your fingers and suddenly you have a different inner voice. It's a journey into letting your inner voice be the kindest voice that you know, by taking little steps each day. And suddenly you find yourself crowding out the thoughts that used to vex and upset you and replacing them with thoughts that are really high quality, really nourishing, really uplifting. And that's when life begins to, really get exciting and really become very beautiful and flow. Because often we're standing in the way of our own happiness without realizing it. And that is a matter of really tuning into our thoughts and self-talk and taking up the power we naturally possess in that regard. And the third thing in line, so we go thinking, we go talking, and then I go into action. So then it really is just loving action, taking loving action, nurturing ourselves. And I certainly do that in my life. I really enjoy self-care, and I see it not as something selfish, but as essential, because when I take care of myself, I have a lot of energy for life, for my creativity, for my work, for my relationships. If my own cup is full, then I have a lot to give. So I really work on making sure I do that in my daily life.
Oh, I like that answer. Let's talk a bit more about your self-care later on in this episode. First, I want to congratulate you on your beautiful new book and ask why book on love?
Look, love is my greatest inspiration and my greatest motivator, and I believe in love, and I always will. I feel it's important that we cultivate faith in love, especially during times that are challenging for us. And there's a lot of fearful messaging, there's a lot of stressful messaging out there, and a wonderful, consistent, powerful counterpoint is a conversation about love. And I was told that writing a book on love was very ambitious. And but at no point did I really think, who am I to write a book on love? Because I just thought the inspiration is flowing, the words are flowing, the pictures are coming. I'm going to honour this process and put it down into something that is going to become a tangible offering. And I love books. I mean, it goes without saying, the book world is my secret heaven and very much my public heaven now. But the bookmaking process to me is still a magical process. And the sharing of books, the gifting of books, the quiet reading of books to me is one of the absolute joys of life. And I believe you feel the same.
I do. I have been gifted one of your books, listeners. One of my best mates gave me one of Meredith's books about kindness a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you feel the same way. But, you know, I really believe that to love and be loved is our reason for being on earth. And, you know, really it's about loving ourselves, each other and our earth. And it's clear that more love is needed. I mean, there's songs that say, you know, love is what the world needs now is love, sweet love, and it makes the world go round. I mean, some people say money, but I believe it's love.
Absolutely.
And in a busy and stressed and inflamed world, love can bring us back to center. It's a life-affirming feeling. And more than that, and I hope we'll go into this a little more, but it's essential to our well-being. You know, the experience of love, self-love, being loved, loving life is an incredibly immune-boosting, revitalizing energy of which we are all naturally part, and we can choose day by day to realign ourselves with love and enhance our experience of life.
How can we get better at choosing love? I mean, that is obviously what your book is about. And you talk about making love our anchor.
Yes.
It's hard to do this sometimes.
Yes, it is. There's an illustration in the book. It's a beautiful girl in her love boat, and her anchor is a big heart. And I often come back to that image in my mind's eye, and I love it. I love the idea of being anchored by this big love heart. And sometimes that image alone helps me to sort of feel like it's a really steadying picture in my mind, having this big love heart anchor, being on my little boat of life and, you know, really anchoring into what matters most. But look, love is a joyous practice. It's a commitment. You know, like all things I write and draw about, it's a way of life. And when we see love as a choice, we really then start to become more conscious about the way that we live. And that's essential because our consciousness, our self-awareness is so important. It's more important now than ever because we can get stuck in a me culture. We can get stuck in obsessing over things that are really at the end of the day, end of the proverbial day, really inconsequential, you know. And love, docking into love and being part of the frequency of love is a collective experience of life. It's a collective frequency. It's togetherness. It's unity. It's mutual respect. And these things are so important. And, you know, one of my favorite things to say and to think about is just the fact that it's not complicated. You know, we often accidentally overcomplicate our lives in a myriad of ways, but I love the idea of reducing things back to basics just so that we can enjoy peace of mind. And I reduce things back to love. Choosing love is a simple way in daily life to keep being anchored, to keep coming back to what matters most, and to keep reaffirming our commitment to ourselves and each other and our earth and to our well-being.
We'll be back after this short break with more from Meredith. Well, let's talk about self-love in particular. I mean, why is this so important for our mental health and our well-being?
Yes. Well, this is exciting. So biochemically, the frequency of love enhances our well-being. It works at a cellular level, boosting our immunity, the health of our physical hearts, our self-esteem, our youthfulness, even our beauty. You know, love helps to relax us and vitalize us so that all of our body systems can work optimally. And the way it does this is like any emotion, it has a frequency that operates in the body system. So if we think about the feeling of fear, we might feel our muscles tense. We might feel ourselves kind of closing in. We might feel it in our tummies. We might feel our jaw clenching. We might feel
I feel it in my shoulders.
Yeah,
I don't know, listeners, what about you?
Yeah, I felt it in my shoulders, my tummy, and then I felt my eyebrows crinkle. So you think about, you know, fear or anxiety, and you feel the frequency in your body. And then this is a wonderful meditation. You can then, within a space of a few seconds, opt to call in the frequency of love or the frequency of gratitude, about which I wrote a book, and I'm completely devoted to gratitude in the same way I am to love as a way of life. But we just feel the frequency of these energies within our body because we are energetic beings in an energetic world. And when we are attuned to the power of energy, energy we can ourselves cultivate, energy we experience in our interpersonal relationships, in our environments, we can then start to understand how our mind-body or our body-mind is impacted by these frequencies and start to become quite attuned to ourselves and to the world around us and to people, with whom we're sharing life. And it's a very important awareness to cultivate and then to work with that awareness in order to build lives that we love and that we feel nourished by, and lives in which we feel safe and confident and inspired, by really quite simply focusing on the energy we want more of and being able to release that which we don't and that which no longer serves us.
How do we do that? Because often those destructive thoughts, I mean, we all have them. We all go there. That loving yourself can be tough, getting past what you don't particularly like.
Yes.
How can we do this, love ourselves more deeply, cultivate more enriching thoughts of self-love?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when you asked this question was, this might sound like a funny answer, but I think we all take ourselves too seriously. We can take ourselves very seriously and get very, very heavy in things. We can become very psychoanalytical with ourselves and try to resolve all of our problems. I was reading a brilliant book in bed last night. In fact, I kept telling myself, the next page I'm going to go to bed, the next page I'm going to turn out the light, and I couldn't stop. One of my favourite books called The Art of Simplicity by French writer Dominique Leroux. And her book touches on the idea of simplifying not only our lives materially, but very much our mental space, so decluttering our mental space. And she says, don't invest too much time and worry in trying to solve your problems, rise above them. And by that she means rise above the thinking that is perpetuating the energy of the problem and just go higher. And in doing so, the problem will naturally resolve itself. This may sound esoteric to some, but we can simply choose higher quality thoughts, focus on the things that we do have. So if the things we lack are causing us grief or causing us anxiety, we can focus on what we do have. If things that are making us unhappy, for instance, are really vying for our attention, we can choose to focus on the things that do make us happy, the things we do love to do. We're simply being selective. We're really being selective. And again, this comes back to the absolute power of thought. And loving thoughts, or choosing loving thoughts. But
no, I think that sounds like a bit of a Buddhist philosophy in many ways, isn't it? If you can take yourself out of the moment, away from your ego, and look at it from outside yourself in many ways, then you can push past it and stop being so caught in this in this destruction.
But, beyond, and I'll come right back down to earth, and give a few what I hope to be super practical, actionable tips in this area too. So how can we love ourselves more deeply? So first of all, we really have to arrive home within. And we may have been absent for quite some time, but coming home within, actually, I wrote a book called At Home Within that really touches on this in many ways. But it means letting go of all of our resistance to love and to ourselves and choosing ourselves. Actually choosing ourselves. I love that, who was it? Oscar Wilde says that to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And we're with ourselves for life, so we may as well enjoy the company we keep. Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
Your life with someone who's criticizing you and berating you and making you feel bad and making you question all your decisions. We wouldn't want to spend an hour with them, let alone a lifetime.
No, I mean, we talk to ourselves harder than we talk to our friends, our family, our kids. And
imagine if we spoke to ourselves as we would, our most treasured friend. Imagine if we were as compassionate, as soft, as kind, as receptive, as understanding. Why do we somehow, dock ourselves off that list of people that deserve to be treated in that way? We just as much as everybody else are deserving of our love and care. And again, that's a Buddhist philosophy right there. But I always say, choose happiness over perfection. Choose love and joy over fear. And with daily practice, this becomes natural. And all of my books cover this. Love is my 10th book, and I've loved every single book. They're super practical. And the idea is that we joyously practice this kind of magical stuff. We practice gratitude. We practice choosing love. It's not complicated. And yet it changes our lives in ways that we can't even script, we can't predict. And really, I'm so passionate about this because I believe that we're all deserving of happiness and inner peace, and that it is inherently, these are our natural states. Joy is a natural state. And when we declutter all of the bits and bobs that are getting in the way, we feel this inner wellspring of joy that is always ours to enjoy.
Absolutely. Meredith, that was wonderful. Wellspring, I love that word. It just fills me with joy. Thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thank you for having me today.
I hope this chat with Meredith inspired you to cultivate more enriching thoughts of self-love. Oh, she's just a bundle of love to chat to, isn't she? Her book is out now and it is called Choosing Love. If you want more from us, remember Extra Healthy-ish. We publish a new episode every morning, Monday to Thursday. For more, head to bodyandsoul.com.au or join the conversation via Body and Soul on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for joining us. And if you have a moment, we'd, love it if you could rate, review and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.